Oh my, this has certainly become a thing. Star Wars Battlefront needs very little introduction. Probably one of the most fondly remembered games in the Star Wars IP back on the PS2 era. Battlefront 2 being the most beloved. EA recently making new entries and seemingly no longer interested in doing so. They're too busy adding heroes into Battlefield games. Aspyr Games have slowly been porting old Star Wars games to current consoles, and all has gone relatively smoothly until now. When you port such a beloved game, you'll be held to a much higher standard. Moving through the controversy of stolen mods and assets, broken servers where on launch they thought 3 would be enough, we will take a look at the classic collection of Star Wars Battlefront and the games themselves. Both Battlefront games are at the core the same. The first game obviously just missing features and feeling slightly different to the sequel. Battlefront 1 has 2 story modes, story being in massive quotations here, as you just play through a sequence of conquest maps with a little bit of context at the start. You'll be able to play a Clone Wars era story and a Empire era story. Both stories allow you to control both factions in their respective times. The game also includes instant action, which allows you to pick a map or set of maps to play on. Then there's multiplayer, which, well, guess we'll leave this till Battlefront 2. We also have Galactic Conquest, which allows you to pick a faction, and then pick and choose planets to, well, conquer the galaxy. The maps you play on are all iconic locations from the movies. Kashyyyk, Tatooine, Endor, and even some extras thrown in there, which I am unfamiliar with. The maps all look fine, they are very empty at times. Some maps will feature map-specific factions, such as the Tusken Raiders, though you can't play as them in this game, or I don't think you can anyway. The main mode of Battlefront is Conquest, which if you've played any other Battlefield type game, you'll be familiar with. The map has capture points spread throughout the map, the objective being simply to capture them and bleed the enemy's tickets all the way to 0. Once the enemies get low on tickets, or your team gets low, the amount of players on the map starts to dwindle, leaving only a few soldiers left running around, and sometimes you'll have to hunt down the last soldier standing, which can actually ruin the fun pace of a match if you have to slowly walk around for 10 miles to the other side of the map, because Steve the Stormtrooper got stuck in a hut. Battlefront includes Battlefield-style classes, basic infantry, sniper, engineer, a heavy, and a special character, jet troopers, debris, Wookiees, and dark troopers. Each class has their own weapons, tools, and grenades. The combat does feel very good in Battlefront, surprisingly so for such an old game. You can either play in third or first person, third being my preferred way to play the game. First just seems a bit jarring, because when you go to crouch or prone, your head will just start to jiggle. There's quite strong aim assist, but it doesn't feel too annoying. You just kind of aim in the vague direction of an enemy, and you'll superglue to them. So if you're a modern controller player in this day and age, this will feel completely natural. Vehicles are featured in some of the maps and controlled pretty well. If you're on your own, then there's a lot of seat switching to be had to get the most out of them, or you just hope the AI companions in the back are not sniffing glue. Battlefront 1 is a fine game, but as we will soon see, it does very much get left behind by the second entry, Battlefront 2, which I guess is expected. So, Battlefront 2, one of the most beloved Star Wars games probably ever. So similarly to Battlefront 1, we have Galactic Conquest, instant action, and a story mode. But the story mode in this game is so much more improved to the first game. The campaign is called Rise of the Empire. You play as a soldier of the 501st, going through a variety of missions, going through the rise of the Empire. From fighting on Geonosis, Order 66, to the battle on Hoth. The thing I love about this story is the little diary entries you get at the start of each level. It's just such a wonderful idea, and it makes the story feel like an actual war story.
No one ever complained about the cold on Hoth. We never felt it. Even though we were blinded by blizzards, we could see the final end of the rebellion in our blaster sights. Was it only a mirage, perhaps? But on that day, on that planet, our blood ran hot with dreams of victory, melting the ice that stood in our way.
The objectives in the levels are also much more varied than Conquest. Some levels you'll have to be destroying objectives, killing certain enemies, holding out in areas, and capturing specific items. They also allow you to play as heroes at some point in each level too. Just don't miss your chance. Honestly, I recommend playing Battlefront 2 just for the story mode. It's what I play whenever I come back to this game. Game modes include Conquest, Capture the Flag, Hero Assault and Hunt mode. Hero Assault and Hunt mode being the two interesting entries. Hunt allows you to play as a special species versus another in a special scenario. Ewoks versus Scout Troopers, Jawas versus Tusken Raiders and so on. Hero Assault allows you to play as the newly added heroes. Heroes were in Battlefront 1 but not playable, but now you can play as them. Take up a lightsaber as Anakin, Obi-Wan, Grievous, Maul, Count Dooku, Yoda, Palpatine, Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Aayla Secura, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Or take up a blaster as Boba Fett, Jango Fett, Leia, Chewbacca and Han Solo. So there's a lot. And back then we didn't have to wait 3 years to get a new hero. And they all have their own special moves and ways to play. They are fun to use, but they do feel incredibly clunky at times, and the combat does just boil down to stun lock. With the Classic Collection, we also have Asajj Ventress and Kit Fisto joining the roster, and they are fine. They look a bit mental, but they are cool. Music in this mode is also incredibly all over the place, but it's actually kind of wonderful.
Blaster with your name on it. Size matters not.
Another new mode and feature in Battlefront 2 is space combat. Fly your favourite ships from across the factions in ship versus ship combat. The objective here is to destroy the enemy flagship. With this you have two choices. Use a ship and blow it up from the outside, or go on a family vacation and sneak into the enemy ship and blow it up from within. This mode has always been one of my favourites. Just sneaking in with a big dropship and swarming the inside has always been a blast. Ships also feel great to fly and I love the little manoeuvres you can do, and also the sounds. There's no seismic charge here, but these will do. Classes are pretty similar to those found in Battlefront 1, but with a few extras including a special class section, a spy class, magma guard, clone commander who wields a chain gun, and a jet trooper. I do find myself just using the regular soldier most of the time, as the extra ones never seem that much more effective compared to the regular soldier. Though I did have fun skulking about on a rooftop in Kashyyyk in multiplayer mode as a sniper. A new feature for Battlefront 2, and honestly myself, I never knew this existed until the trophies revolved around these, are medals. During gameplay you will earn medals for getting kill streaks with a certain weapon, or capturing points, which will reward you with a buff or a special weapon. I don't know how I played Battlefront 2 for so long and never knew these existed, but now I do. Multiplayer is actually populated here, and it's not very good. Hit reg feels completely off, and people are just gliding all over the place with lag. It's a fun novelty playing this game online for the first time myself, but I can't really see myself jumping back in. There's also no form of party functionality, so you can't group up with friends and jump into a server. You just have to hope you get into the same one, and the same team. Graphically, both games are the same as they were, just with a HD makeover, and they look fine. Battlefront 2 obviously being the more interesting looking, as the maps aren't just barren wastelands. But with these editions of the game, some maps like Hoth, you can sometimes end up with quite bad graphical glitches everywhere, which is just mental as they actually seem quite consistent. Sound is also something that would just sometimes rather not be a part of the game sometimes. So, the collection. The game themselves are as fun as they've always been. Battling across the galaxy in a variety of modes is great fun, and Battlefront 2 is always a standout, especially in the story mode. For PC, I don't see a reason for this to exist, outside of a refreshed online experience, but even then, PC probably has enough resources and a player base to stick to the OG game. For console, the existence is a little bit more justified. It's great to be able to play these games on a modern console without having to set up an old PS2. Trophies are great fun, and the games themselves, as I said, are as good as they were before. Price may put some people off, the collection being around £30, but as I always say, PlayStation, not sure about Xbox, but PlayStation has a sale every 2 seconds, and these games are bound to end up there at some point. So if you're not feeling the £30 for what is essentially a HD upgrade of an old game, then wait for one of those. I feel as though this is an incredibly lazy way of handling these classics. A game like Battlefront deserves a larger upgrade. Modern graphics, cleaned up gameplay, online co-op play in all modes, basic party functionality, but what we got was old games with more than likely stolen HD mods. A letdown to be sure, but I've enjoyed my time playing these games for what they are. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.